Well, hi, Pilgrim friends. It's Pastor Eric. I am glad to be with you this Monday, November 16, 2020. And I encourage you, before you hear the questions, to make sure you read 2 Sam 12 closely. I'm sorry, 2 Sam 11. And also, if you haven't, see the sermon that I preached yesterday. That should help you through it a little bit. It'll take you some time, but it's good time worth spending. And these questions will make much more sense. Remember, the questions are designed both to jog your memory and also to expand your applications. So let's work through those together. Here we go. Number one, why did this story get included in the Bible? Why did this story get included in the Bible? Was it to encourage people to go do what David did? And if not, why not? 2. Let's say that you heard about the controversy in Christian circles over the past few years regarding the Me Too movement. One of the most famous arguments came over 2 Samuel 11. You shouldn't be surprised at that. One person claimed that what David did to Bathsheba was rape. Another said it wasn't rape. If you feel comfortable discussing this topic, and really only if you feel comfortable discussing it, discuss how you might come to some edifying conclusion to that hot controversy. It got nasty. But the reality is it was a part of the Christian community's experience, and I think it was actually fruitful overall to have the discussion. So go ahead and figure out whether this constitutes rape, and if not, why not, and then what difference it makes to get that label correct. 3. 4th century monk and scholar Jerome noted that David fell into serious public sin in his middle years. His middle years. How do you feel about that? Now, of course, we don't know exactly how old David is, and it doesn't really matter. If the scriptures cared, then they would share that stuff. But it is interesting to me that we have many who are older in this congregation and outside. And often we forget that we are just as able to fall as young people. Well, that's shown here in the passage pretty clearly. But I want you to talk openly with others about how you feel about that. 5. Have you ever been down to the art museum and seen the Eakins painting, The Gross Clinic? Did you know it was very controversial when first painted? In fact, some critics resented being forced to watch this terrible scene, as if someone was forcing them to watch it, which of course isn't really the case. But how might those responses help us understand how different people respond to 2 Samuel chapter 11? It's the same kind of thing. It's very striking and frustrating and fearful for many people. So how might those responses to the Gross Clinic, when it was first painted by the famous Thomas Eakins, how might those responses help us understand how different people respond to 2 Samuel 11? 5. What might it mean that so few disciples of Jesus have a confessor? That is, one that they confide in to unburden themselves from the secrecy of their sin and guilt. What does that mean? It's got to mean something. And I think there's some obvious answers, and then there's some less than obvious answers. Talk about it with your group. What does it mean that so few disciples have confessors in their lives? I think it matters, and I think it's something that we can change. Number 6, and last, let's say David was a member of Pilgrim Church now. That is the king. Right? David himself. Yeah. Let's just say it was. How might you respond to David's sin? If you're a member of this church, you have obligations to others, especially when you know of major public sin and scandal. Now, how might you go about that? And then think about this. How might Pilgrim Church as a whole respond to David's sin? Think about what it might look like at the scope, and also think about what the first steps might be, and how I and others might be involved. Because there is a full church response that's often necessary. So with that, those are the questions for this week. We will see you soon.